Welcome to our podcast presentation. This is the Live Healthy and Well podcast. I am Michael Saladin. This is Feng Dunling, and this is Tolanda Thomas. So today we're going to be talking about living healthy and well and what that means.
All right, great. So as far as healthcare and wellness, health refers to basically the body being free of disease and healthy. Wellness refers to the overall balance of a person's physical, social, spiritual, emotional, intellectual, environmental, and occupational wellness. Having good nutrition by eating a balanced diet, making sure you're drinking enough water in order to promote that health and wellness. Wellness plans take into consideration your mental, physical, spiritual, financial, professional, intellectual, as well as environmental health. It is easy to set up this in order to set up and determine your goals. How you do this is to create and schedule and stick to it. Form a diary of your accomplishments and try to surpass them. Set realistic goals that can be achieved, stay focused, as well as stay committed. Remember, each step adds up to a mile if you keep going. Benefits of health and wellness include improved morale, better teamwork, social networking, increased productivity, reduced absenteeism, as well as a higher job satisfaction, and making the stronger engagements, which leads us to our podcast guest, Miss Tiffany Letts. Tiffany is a graduate of Brockport. She also is a registered nurse and currently is a healthcare surveyor for the Department of Health. She grew up in Rochester. She has areas of interest in subacute care as well as geriatrics. She also enjoys making people happy and working on the most difficult cases and with the right clients and getting it done right. She finds excitement in giving the proper treatment and policies when helping out patients. She also believes that dealing with life in the smallest possibilities as far as policies could make the biggest impact if ignored. She encourages health and wellness and believes that there is a direct correlation between healthy minds as well as physical health.
Yep. So we're looking at the chart that shows some percentage of GDP going to healthcare costs. And then we can definitely see a trend that the percentage of the GDP that's spent on the healthcare costs is going up every single year. And then the forecast is that by 2023 we'll have nearly about 20% of the GDP being spent on the healthcare costs. So which means every $100 that we make, we spend $20 of it on healthcare costs. And Tiffany, so that's where I got a question for you. Could you give you some of your insights on why the GDP going to healthcare costs keep going up?
I don't know. I believe that the cost of healthcare going up is it prohibits a certain class of people, if you will, from being able to obtain healthcare, period. So it's like pharmaceutical companies, they need their money.
Yep.
I believe a lot of it is with the pharmaceutical companies. And even, the doctors, they need their money.
Gotcha, yeah.
It's just all about money.
And the one, quickly to interrupt, one thing that we can really relate to the reason why the healthcare costs is been going up is the inflation rate. So there, right now we can see the inflation rate going up insanely. And one of the most obvious example would be the gasoline price. It's going up off the roof. And the one reason that, in my opinion, that why the healthcare costs is going up, keep going up, is because people are starting to living longer as opposed to before. The life expectancy from people are going to be like at least 80, 90 years old, as opposed to like 50, 60 years ago, in like 100 or 200 years ago.
So this is the health and wellness market. The statistics that you're looking at were compiled by Harris Williams. And so it's pretty much showing roughly $300 billion in the health and wellness market as a globe. This chart shows the billions of dollars allocated towards the health and wellness market. The three categories are fitness and training in blue, workplace and health and wellness in red, and digital health in green. As you can see, there's a large disparity between fitness and training and health and wellness when compared to digital health. So what exactly is digital health? For those who don't know, it's a discipline that includes digital health programs and technologies with health, healthcare, living, and society to enhance the efficiency of healthcare delivery and to make it more of a personalized and precise approach. So the data was gathered off of three to four primary sources, one of which was the IHRSA 2019 Global Report, the Global Wellness Institute, the 2018 Global Wellness and Economy Monitor, and Statista Value of Worldwide Digital Health and Marketing 2019. So this report suggests that more funds are being allocated towards the sector of health and wellness. It is seeking to also provide treatment to those who need it. As of 2020 and COVID-19, the digital health gained a projected 20% more profit while during lockdown and quarantine, and in-person businesses were closed because of the quarantine and lockdown. So companies had to move online, which is why there's such tremendous growth in this area and in this market as a whole. What was shown based off of all the data that was gathered was that the global market for this digital healthcare was not only showing promising signs, but it will also give more of a personalized feeling to medicine because of the one-on-one video chats that people were having with their healthcare provider and their doctors. And so I just had a few questions for you, Tiffany. And one of them was, how do you feel about the lack of attention towards mental health in this new market? Because as you can see, they're focused on pretty much physical, fitness and training, workplace health and wellness, and digital health. There's not really a category for mental health there.
You know, I think since the pandemic has it came, the lockdowns, I think now people are looking more at mental health. So I see that this was in 2018, 19. So now, you know, 2021, 22 now, people are acknowledging that it has caused a problem or that they need to speak with someone. So that's what I'm thinking, why it doesn't reflect that. I know now what they're doing a lot with mental health digitally as well. So I take advantage of all the digital that I could get. But I just think no one really put too much stock into mental health. And so that's why we don't see it.
If you were to redo this model, how would you go about restructuring it, given the $300 billion budget you have?
I think I would put more into, well, digital health has got a lot into it now. I would definitely, I guess, put that. Mental health would have to be somewhere on here. And it will probably cut down more on the fitness and training, even though people need the fitness and training, you can't really be fit if you're not mentally fit. So I would cut down on the fitness and training and some of that digital, but I don't know, that's a difficult one looking at it here because everything is needed. I think digital health is most important right now.
Absolutely.
You know, it increases compliance.
Yeah, it definitely gets a broader perspective of how people view medicine is how I feel about it. And people won't be as afraid to go and talk to their doctors and go and, well, they can't really visit them, but go and just be one-to-one and face-to-face with them.
Right.
Okay. And we're moving on to the question section, and this is getting to know you.
All right, so let's break up the monotony of the room a little bit there, Tiffany, and get you out of the hot seat, so to speak. So what do you think really excites you about healthcare and encourage you to want to share it?
What excites me about healthcare is that it's changing. It's ever changing. Every day, every minute, something is new. And in order to treat whatever population you deal with, you have to stay on top of it so that you're treating and you're doing everything right. I appreciate evidence-based practice. I like the research, things like that. So that encourages me. And then when you take those things that you learn from evidence-based practice or the new technologies or procedures, and you see it working, that excites me as well.
Okay. So in the same lines of that, this is not a question that's listed on here, but as far as COVID-19, when Fauci said that we could remove our mask, did you?
Oh my goodness. I was wearing a mask when they told everyone to not wear a mask. Just because generally as a nurse, when wintertime comes, once flu season comes, if I decide not to get immunized, when I go around my clients, I have to wear a mask. So I know, right then it was respiratory. And one of the ways to stop getting it is to protect, my face and keep my hands clean and things like that. I was worried about that a lot. I was worried about that a lot, but I continue to wear a mask. Even today, I'll continue to wear a mask in some environments.
That's wonderful. I was going to ask that next. Are you still wearing it even though this is going on? And are you fully vaccinated?
I'm fully vaccinated with a booster, and the rates are currently rising. So mask, we go again.
Yeah, it's kind of scary considering. So, I mean, again, let me break up the monotony again. So as far as healthcare, what makes your heart sing? What gets you percolated? What gets your heart going and your blood pumping and you just want to continue to endeavor in the healthcare field?
Well, again, it's because it is ever changing. So it's not like the same. There's always something new. I'm always learning something new. I just learned something new today. Then I was like, geez, I didn't know that. They didn't teach me that in school. But it's just, I have the opportunity to continuously learn. And that's what I like to do, learn. So it'll always keep me there because it's always going to be something I get to learn.
Okay, well, that leads me to my next question. What's your next interest in furthering in healthcare? Because obviously you're still going to be wanting to be in it.
Yeah, I actually just applied for school. I just finished my essay. I plan to go back, and actually I was looking at different programs, but I'm thinking I'm going to go with the psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. That is starting to interest me more, especially with how the lockdowns occurred and how COVID is still affecting everyone, whether it be mentally or physically. So I think I want to delve into that and see how I could best help people that way.
Wonderful. Okay. So as what do you think stands apart as far as cultural differences or barriers that may hinder someone's health and wellness?
Well, from what I've noticed, I believe it is socioeconomics. It's like the lower you are on the totem pole, the less treatment you get, if you will. I've noticed with me now, I have really good health insurance. I get to go to see all the best specialists that I want to see. I can afford any medication now that they give me because I can, afford it out of pocket and or my copays and, just continue to go to work. It's a lot of people that like Medicaid, Medicare, and some services they can't get access to. Another thing is language barriers. Language barriers present to be difficult if you don't have an interpreter and you can't explain to your provider what it is you may need. Another one is cultural. That was a big thing in school with us. It was cultural considerations, where we learned the different cultures, what to do, what not to do to offend someone or not give them the proper care they need. So I think the big picture when it comes down to it, I think it's money. I think it just comes down to money and what you have. If you don't have insurance, you're not gonna get health care.
I just wanted to add a question to that. Do you think that the majority of the healthcare field is oriented around money? Or what is your opinion on that?
It depends. Like now I work for the state. What I do for the state is around money. It's making people have health insurance. So it's money. Yeah, I do. I mean, maybe not for me or like a nurse like me or the doctor that said, I want to go to school for this, but you have the institutions over you that they want their money. I worked in a nursing home, and one of the things that I did not like about working in a nursing home was that it was about the money. They wanted all the money and they didn't want to pay their workers. So then they didn't get good workers, and then the patients didn't get cared for properly. So, it just has to be a balance there. If you take the institution out of it and deal with the person, like the doctor, the nurse, the radiologist, I think that you'll find they do it because they love it. But if you go outside of that and you start dealing with administration, they want the money. So, everything is on a time. You get a 30-minute visit. How many visits can you get in a day? And the more visits, the more money. So it's just a circle that, I don't know. It's like, why not universal health care?
Do you also feel that insurance providers are a huge push for it to be in the monetary area? Like they want it to be more money oriented rather than help people?
You know what? I'm not really, well, I work for insurance now. And my job's goal is to make sure that these people have some type of medical coverage and to get this stuff. So for me, it wouldn't be about money, or for my job, it wouldn't be about money. But it's just, I don't know. It's not what you think it is when you're going to school. It's once you get out, it's like, oh my goodness, okay, this is different. And, tell us about this big money aspect of it.
So
Gotcha.
what happened during the COVID? Were you like working at a nursing home or something?
Oh no, I quit all work. I came home and I did not go back to work until a year. 2020. I went back to work. I didn't want to. I like evidence-based practice. They didn't have any evidence because it was novel. They didn't know, and what they were saying was opposite of what I was taught. So for me, watching all of this on the news and listening to the experts, and they're telling us, oh, no, don't worry. And I know better. I'm like, let me stay home until you guys get it right. And I think they just about got it right now. I'd probably go back into a facility and work now because they've got some evidence-based practice behind it now.
So getting back into the questions, Tiffany, what are some of the things that you do to take care of yourself, since many in healthcare backgrounds ignore their own health?
Well, I go to the doctor. I am trying to eat better now. I take my medications as I should. And mental health, I see a counselor. Because if that's not right, I'm not right. And, I just think that if you're prescribed a medication, take it. If you could get 30 minutes of exercise in a day, do it. You'll see the results.
Absolutely. How important do you think mental health is in terms of everything else within your personal life? Is that the foundation, or is that an additive?
At this point, I believe it is. It is like the foundation. It's like you just really can't move forward if you're not mentally capable of doing it. Your mind stops the body from doing everything. So, and that's just me. You know, I've seen it in clients where they have a lot of other conditions, but they can't get those conditions under control because they have like an ignored mental health condition. So everything seems right to them, but it's not right because the mental health aspect of it isn't under control.
Gotcha. Do you think legalizing marijuana will help with pain treatments?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had a friend who was on chemotherapy. This was before it was legalized, and all she wanted was something, marijuana to eat, because she couldn't smoke. And so she decided after she couldn't access this, that she just no longer wanted to do the chemotherapy because it made her so ill. And she ultimately stopped and passed away. So I believe that would have helped her to tolerate the chemotherapy. I've seen it now where children, they're using it for children. And it's having beneficial psychiatric effects on them. You know, as I read my cases, I'm like, oh my goodness, they're doing this for a child. If a child is failure to thrive, not eating or something like that, that it just helps with the appetite. So I think it's important. They should have done it a long time ago.
Gotcha. Do you agree with holistic approach?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everything is tied into one. Your environment, your body, your mind, your family, your finances, you know, it's just, yeah. And I think nursing is like based off of treating people holistically. You know, if you got to treat the whole person and not just, you know, the problem.
I was just about to ask, how has holistics affected you in your own personal life?
Oh, geez. Like if I'm depressed, I eat too much. So I take my medicine and not get depressed to stop eating too much so that I'm not overweight and my blood pressure is high. It's like a circle, you know, for me. So it's just, once you take care of one thing, it's like a cascade, you know, okay, boom, check this off. Now I'm on my medication. My blood pressure is doing great. I'm not being sick. And now I can go exercise and I'm losing weight now. So if I lose enough weight, I don't have to take medicine for my blood pressure anymore, you know. So everything is tied into one.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely feel like that. I've been on a weight loss journey myself, and I've been realizing that it all starts up here and what you eat over here.
Yeah.
And so far I've lost 30 pounds.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm hoping to lose even more, but I realized that a large majority of it is getting your mind right.
Yep.
And then getting your mouth right with everything that you eat and so on and so forth.
That's true.
What are some healthy approaches you've had to suggest to encourage health and wellness?
I think I talk to everybody about something. That once someone finds out that I'm a nurse, it's like they have questions and I have some answers. So I just, you know, I believe that if I'm able to talk to someone and I'm relatable to them, they'll get it. As if, you know, if you talk above someone, it's like, whatever, I don't want to hear it. But if I can relate to someone, and that's what I try to do, I try to get right wherever their level is and meet them there. Or if I have to go up sometimes I do, if I could. But it's being able to talk and explain it so that it's understood. I think that's a lot that's happened with me. Once I understood, then it was like, okay, I know what I need to do. So, go ahead.
So instead of making it more of just an informative lecture, you speak to them more on a personal level, right?
Definitely.
And choosing things that relate to them definitely do help with that.
Right.
Because
And
then
if I
there's that
could say
connection.
something about myself to them, it's like, oh my God, I'm going through the same thing. This is what helped me, or something like that. Or my doctor told me this and I tried it and it worked. And so I find when people are able to relate to me, they'll be like, well, what should I do about this? Even if they don't talk to their own doctors. a lot of times I send them back to their doctor. But if I can give them information within my scope, I'm more than happy.
Perfect. All right. I will move on to the next slide.
Yep. So when we talk about health and wellness, there's one thing that we couldn't skip talking about, which is COVID-19. That's the thing that we draw all of our attention to health and the wellness. So Tiffany, on the very first question I'm going to ask you is, what do you think has been a lasting effect as a result of COVID-19 in regard to health and wellness?
Paranoia. That's all I just paranoia. It's like either you're paranoid about it or you just don't care about it. And most people, it's like they say, oh, you don't have to wear the mask. My grandson looked at me, he's like, I'm wearing my mask to school. So, I mean, that's what I think it is now, because it's really not, it's not under control right now. So it's like the mask, it's got to be the masking. I don't see people washing the hands and all of that stuff and sanitizing like they used to. I think more it's more the masking and being around a lot of people.
And do you notice that because now we are in fact masking, or we were masking, did you see like a drop in like kids getting sick when they went back to school?
Yes. Remember the flu went down, pneumonia went down, RSV went down. It is so much. It was a lady on television. They were interviewing her last week, and they were asking her what she felt about the mask mandate being dropped. And she said her children had a history of respiratory problems. And since they've been wearing masks, they haven't been sick once. So that stands out for me. And it's like they work. The masks, they work. I mean, they were working before COVID.
I guess one of the things that we learn from this pandemic is that wearing masks really does to help prevent respiratory disease. And the next question I'm going to ask is, do you think people have become less or more health conscious over the years?
I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with that, because the United States, the people here, we're getting sicker every year. By the years, we are sicker than we were 20 years ago. So I think now people are starting to pay attention to what's put into our foods, for sure, and our drinking water and things like that. But they're still putting lots of different things in our food. And I think that's what's making us sick as Americans, particularly.
I will agree with you. I do think people become more health conscious over the years, especially after the pandemic. So, for example, before the pandemic, my personal experience, I didn't even get to wear the mask once, and I didn't even know what the mask was for. And after the pandemic, I knew the mask was to prevent the spreading of the disease through breathing, the airing, and which really, and on top of that, after the pandemic, I feel like more and more people are starting to pay attention to not only the physical health as well as the mental health. I feel like that COVID-19 is not only a disease that destroys our body, it also destroys our mental health, because during the lockdown, we couldn't really talk to anyone, and we couldn't get to do our daily routines, for example, going to school or going to work. And that totally interrupted our regular daily life. And most of the time, we'll just be spending our time in the house alone and not being able to talk to anyone. That really caused severe mental health issues in many people. And then that's why like you say, we're more and more conscious about the health issues. And then that's really a big lesson I learned after the pandemic. And then we're going to move on to the last question, which is which areas were hit the hardest by COVID-19, and why do you think that could be?
I'm gonna say the worst hit was New York City, of course, and California. And I believe that they were hit hard because they are like portals to get in. You fly into California, You fly into New York, and then the population, it was dense. You know, you go to New York City, you're touching people on the shoulder, just standing on the street. So I think it was because of the population and the fact that they had, you know, some international airports that people flew into from out of the country.
Just to kind of interject here, to add on to your point, I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I was here when New York was deemed the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic. And a large provider of it was because of the subways well, they're not clean to begin with. And COVID-19 only amplified that because people were holding on to the railings, they were sitting down at the seats, people were coughing, breathing, doing all of this. And a lot of New Yorkers, they didn't wear masks at that time. So they were not only exposing themselves, but exposing others.
Yeah, and I would say I would agree with both of you. I would say New York City is definitely the one city that got hit the hardest because it's so much more difficult for people in New York City to maintain social distance as opposed to like upstate, like Rochester, where we have a lot more public space, and usually most of the time we commute by car. Wouldn't be in contact with anybody. So that's why you are seeing a lot less cases, like proportionally in Rochester or in like upstate area where the population is not that crowded. And we're going to move on to the last question of the podcast. So do you think that, I would say this is a question that most of the healthcare workers care about. Do you think that healthcare workers will ever get enough, will ever get the amount of pay that they deserve?
I do not think that the like PCAs, home health aides, and CNAs, I don't think that they will ever pay those workers what they weigh. They get paid less than a McDonald's worker. And I don't know why it's okay, because just depend on these people to take care of them. I mean, the most close aspects, brushing teeth, washing up, these things, they should have been getting paid hazard pay or whatever. It was just a lot of places that weren't. I'm glad that they're lobbying and stuff in Albany, trying to get that stuff done, but it just has taken too long. It's taken too long, and now they don't want to work because they can go somewhere else and get more money and not possibly get sick. So I don't know. I just think that they should pay workers that have to maintain people's lives. Pay them like they are maintaining people's lives.
Gotcha.
I actually worked as a CNA before. I think that the area that was hit the most hardest was, nursing homes. I was worried about the nursing homes because as a CNA, once before now, I actually need home care services, and I'm unfortunately disabled, and I'm depending on my aide to come and do the things that I was once able to do. I noticed that with the more contact that you have with a person, the more apt that you are to get a cold from them. You're more apt to get, symptoms from simple things that they have, as far as even the common cold, is the flu, simple things. And when you have that much close contact with a person, and not necessarily a person, because there's how many people you have to see in one shift, and then they had to go home and expose their family members to all these different occurrences that they came into. And it was just like baffling to me. And for me, I also was working at Center for Disability Rights at the time. I actually ended up quitting my job like you did, because I didn't want to risk bringing myself into that close circumferences with other people's germs, and I'm already a germaphobe as it is. So, even right now, I don't go to school. I do everything online because I'm worried about the fact that the mask mandate has been lifted. You know, that's been messing with my mental health. It's been messing with the fact that I'm worried about what my aides are doing before they come in to work with me, you know, and having to make sure that I can maintain my mask the whole time that they're here and making sure that they're maintaining their mask. And, you know, I'm just running out of all types of money, spending all this money on disinfectant.
And once in that Rhonda said, and that really resonated with me the most, is that the healthcare workers during the pandemic time, they're not only putting themselves at risk, at higher risk as opposed to other individuals where they don't have to get in contact with COVID infected patients every day. They're not only putting themselves at risk, they're also putting their family at risk. So that's why I really feel like the healthcare workers should get paid more fairly as opposed to when they are being paid now. And then that leads to our following slide.
Just real quickly before we go to that, I just want to say, yeah, I didn't know how little people who were actually getting into contact with sick patients were. Like they don't get a lot of money, and that's very concerning, because not only are they dealing with someone who's sick, they also have to deal with their own personal health at the end of the day. And I think that that's really concerning and should be brought to light, that they're not being paid what they are very much entitled to.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, think about it. At the time when I was a CNA, I was only getting $10.40 an hour, and I was working over 70 hours a week.
That's not fair.
That's a lot lower than I expected.
But you got to think about it. Either way, with healthcare, I'm pretty sure Tiffany can contest that it takes a very special person. You have to be caring and understanding, and it's not necessarily you definitely don't get into it for the money. And if you do get into it for the money, then you're not going to be successful, because it's a people orientated occupation, and without the people, you know, it's not going to exist. Nothing's going to exist. I mean, either way, it's like kind of like a mortician. It's certain business. People, anytime we are around, anytime we breathe, anytime we're around each other, we have a result of the ability to have any type of transmission of diseases. Unfortunately, germs are everywhere, regardless if we can see them or not. And with COVID, it was just like, yeah, you know, we were all worried about, I don't know, maybe this was the end of the world. You know, we didn't know what was going on, and it was just like as opposed to basically corrupt, and we all just decided, all right, well, this is what we got to do, just stay in the house. And it's just like, you know, the shelves were emptied out because people were just staying at home for a change. I mean, I've never seen the street that empty.
Well, on behalf of all of us, to you, Tiffany Letts, we would like to say thank you for being a healthcare hero.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's cool. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.